Just checking.
Yep, I think this is good.
And so give me a second, I'll start my timer.
Yeah, give me a second.
Right, starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. We recognize that the current world we live in, a majority of the population actually follows a particular religion, right? Therefore, we concede the fact that religions should operate in a way which actually allows for people to actually do, which allows for people to have more incentive to do good deeds. And that is what this debate is about, exactly which side allows for more people to have like more piety and have more incentive to do good deeds, right? In my speech, I'm going to clarify, I'm going to introduce two main arguments. Firstly, I'm going to talk about why do people have more incentive to do good deeds under our side of the world. Secondly, I'm going to talk about exactly why is it that like how our world and how people under our side of the world are more better able to reflect on their past actions. But before that, a few clarifications and preemptions. So what do we understand by piety? We understand by piety that it implies abidance, right? Essentially, doing good deeds because they want to do good deeds. The role of religion in this case is to instill good morals and values so that people are willing to do good things on their own, right? So what do we exactly know that what religion looks like, right? We understand that religions, like current religions that exist, are like Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, and etc. Right? We all know that. But what do these religions often promote? They promote kindness or good qualities like being good to your neighbors or forgiveness. Right? It doesn't matter which religion it is. The main message is to promote good deeds, right? We realize the importance of a rewarding mechanism that should exist for these people to actually have the incentive to do good deeds so that they actually know that they're experiencing the reward and they're actually more have like the incentive to do good deeds. So few preemptions that op might run, right? Because op might come here and say like people have more incentive to do good things under their side of the world. We find that untrue. Because why is it the case? Because understand that when people aren't like people can't experience or see rewards of their good deeds, they're less likely to stay motivated, right? Also understand that they're more likely to be oblivious to the consequences that their actions impose in the current world, right? Because they're less likely to take account in the consequences of their current world, and they're more likely to be focused on their spiritual world or the afterlife, right? So they're less likely going to be accountable to the consequences that their actions are imposing in the real world, right? So the stakeholders for this debate are people and followers and people of the religion and the society at large, because individuals have consequences on the society at large, right? We can see that. This debate is about which world ensures that religion is more fulfilling and which world has more incentive for people to do it. So what do we tell you? We imagine a world where a world where reflecting on your actions become easier due to the confirmation bias, right, under our side of the world. So the first argument is as to like why do people have more incentive to do good deeds under our side of the world? We tell you that this is true because one, we recognize that people are able to reap off their benefits of their good deeds in the current world, right? That, as I told you earlier, this leads to confirmation bias. What do we mean by confirmation bias? We understand that which it essentially implies that they're getting a confirmation that they did the right deed, because when they do the right deed, they see the rewards of their actions, right? So this looks like, for example, like when you're kind to your neighbor is kind to you, and you get like see a direct result of your actions, right? Or it could be material rewards in other forms, right? This means that this biasness acts as a form of incentive for them to continue doing the good deeds that they're doing, right? So why is this important for people to continue doing their good deeds? Because number one, we can see that it is essentially important for individuals to stay motivated, because as I mentioned earlier, that the rewarding mechanism under our side of the world ensures that these individuals will continue having incentive to actually continue their act. Secondly, because if they don't have incentive, they're less likely to continue. And that's just simple logic, right? Because when they don't have the incentive, they're more likely to lose hope and they're less likely to continue. So when the comparative under the upside of the world is that when they have less incentive, they can't really it's because due to the fact that they can't visualize their rewards, it's easier for them to lose hope, and it's more likely for them to actually fall out of the incentive and be like, okay, whatever, let me just like not give a damn about what I want to do. Let's just continue doing bad things, right? Also, it's easier for them to like twist the narratives since they can't visualize the rewards, right? It leaves room for extreme interpretations. For example, ISIS believes that they're doing good deeds because they can't like they don't believe that their actions have consequences in the real world. They visualize it as a rewarding mechanism for the afterlife, right? So in conclusion, our world actually has more incentive for people to do good things. So our second argument is as to that how people under our side of the world are better able to reflect on their past actions, right? For, Firstly, why is this true? As I told you earlier, confirmation bias, right? And I explained as to how like this confirmation bias works, right? So the mechanism here is tangible. The people are able to see immediately that if they're whether in the right track or wrong, right? Because they when they see the consequences of their actions, they're able to reflect like, okay, like my consequences are not good. I'm not in the right track, right? Why is this important to actually for them to be able to reflect on their actions? Because understand that as I told you earlier, your actions actually result in consequences for the general society and people surrounding you, right? It is important for these people to redeem their actions and reflect on their wrong actions. And when they're able to visualize that they're on the wrong track, they're actually able to stop those actions and stop like whatever they're doing and and prevent those mistakes that are actually affecting people around them, right? Because when we can see that when you actually do a bad thing, when you actually harm someone, it's actually affecting the people around you. So we don't want that. The comparative under upside of the world is that they lose hope and they can, for example, one of the cases, right? Firstly, it's easier for them to lose hope, as I mentioned earlier, and they can continue being on the track because they're expecting a reward in the afterlife. Or secondly, they're completely oblivious to the fact that they're on the wrong track, right? Because I mentioned earlier that they don't take in like as much of the consequences into account of the real world, right? Because they're waiting for the reward in the afterworld, right? They would be completely oblivious to the fact that what they're doing is affecting people around them and they're actually on the wrong track because in their minds they would be thinking that, okay, I'm waiting for the reward in the afterlife, right? So the harms in the opposition side is that as I'm one of so let me tagline the harms, right, on the opposition side. Firstly, as I mentioned in my first argument, that comparative is that extremist religious groups that they can use this like as a loophole to justify their actions as to justifying that they would actually experience rewards in their afterlife because they're more focused on that as the rewards are the consequences of their real life, right? Secondly, they don't believe in the punishment and consequences as the real world as immaterial, right? We believe that's extremely bad because when you don't believe the consequences in the real life as when you consider it as immaterial and when you don't take that into account at all, we believe that that actually impacts the people and the general society at large extremely negatively because your actions have consequences on other people. So in conclusion, our world allows for people to have better reality checks, has more incentive for people to do good deeds, and actually allows for people to reflect back on their past actions. So for all of those reasons, I'm very proud to propose.
All right, I thank the Prime Minister. Now let's have the leader of opposition here.
Am I audible?
Yep.
This is recorded, right? So I just want to clarify real quickly. Whatever that I'm about to say does not reflect me or may not be aligned with my values and does not represent whatever that I see or represent the institutions that I represent, right? Cool. Set my timer. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Members of the floor, it is pretty ironic that members of IIU debaters does not understand the purpose of religion, right? Because the purpose of religion has been consistent almost in throughout all forms of religion, to provide the best life and to give you hope and believe in a better tomorrow in a world of so much existential crisis, in a world of so much terror and pain, right? We tell you that for almost all religions, it has been successful for people to live the best versions of their life, especially when they're religious, who continuously believe that life is going to get better tomorrow, right? Because they believe that finally, after all of this madness ends, we all get to kumbaya in the afterworld with Sky Daddy, right? The setup from side opposition is very simple, right? We only want to prove to you one thing, right? We want to prove to you that as religious individuals, our life is going to be on earth will be so much bearable if we believe in eternal happiness as opposed to materialistic rewards, right? Before I move on to my argument, um, rebuttals first, right? Side government, out of the blue, accused us by saying that people who believe in spiritual rewards are least likely going to care about the consequences of their actions on earth, right? Why is this outrageously untrue, right? Because People who believe in spiritual rewards are most likely people who also believe in spiritual damnations. They are also the people who believe in the concept of sin, right? They are also the people that believe that Sky Baba is going to throw you into hellfire if you do something bad. Therefore, by that metrics alone, these people are more likely going to be aware of their actions and not going to harm others because they believe in an omniscient, omnibenevolent, and omnipotent God that watches every single action that they do. Therefore, they are not going to cause harm to other people, right? The comparative is that under their world, things are going to be much, much worse, right? Because they talk about confirmation bias, right? In applying to the real world, they're going to be rich religious individuals, right? Where they have been provided with the material benefits that they so believe that they earn, right? Whatever they do, these individuals who believe in material rewards, whatever they do, they still get rich, right? Because they are already rich to begin with. Therefore, they are going to be less likely the people who care about their actions, right? They're going to be continuously manipulating individuals, especially the poor, who believe that they might one day be like the rich religious individuals, right? And we believe that there is a more harmful world to live in, and we don't prefer that kind of world. Before that, go ahead, Ayman.
Yeah, so if there's like no if there's like no what you're suggesting is like how these individuals will be actually held accountable if there's like if they're only expecting rewards in the afterlife, because if they can't see the consequence in real life.
Um, I mean, that's the point of religion, right? Because most religions in the world does not provide you proof. And the fact that it is uncertain is the reason why religions continue to grow and live up until today. Because it can be confirmed that religions do exist or does not exist, therefore there'll be more people who believe or disbelieve, right? But because that religion is uncertain, nobody knows what's going to happen to the afterlife. That fear of uncertainty that is inherent in human beings are the reason why we continuously become religious, right? In which I'll also expound further on in my comparative for my argument. Hope that answers. Thank you. First argument, spiritual rewards provide for a hope to continue living in this world, right? Why is this true, right? The reason why people believe in religion, especially religious individuals, are because one, life for them sucks. The world sucks, right? The world is full of pain and fear. It's also the reason why most religions are contingent upon the belief of a common enemy, a Satan, I don't know, the Jews, whatever form of common enemy that they believe in, because they want to diverge all of the hate and the pain that the world has to offer into one common enemy, right? Second reason why people believe in religion is because of all those things that I mentioned earlier, they see religion as a savior, right? At the end of the day, life is going to be better for them. At the end of the day, they're going to be in the heaven, right? This includes religions like Islam and Christianity, where people believe that they will be coming of Jesus to save all individuals from the damnation that this world has so caused us, right? Therefore, with that belief, so long as these individuals are committed believers, whatever pain that the world has caused these individuals, right? These individuals will still be saved. These individuals will still get the happiness that they so deserved in the eternal world, right? Why is this important? We see that life is terrible, right? And we also consider, right, life is terrible under both worlds, right? People die from chronic diseases. Polio patients had to be inserted into machines their entire life and not get to live their lives. Right? People who are born in places like Syria and Afghanistan, these religious places, right? Whose entire life is to live in ruins, and there is no hope at all for world, especially even if material reward was given, it means nothing to them, right? Sure, the better option is trying to make life better for people, right? But that is a benefit that both sides cannot prove to you. Therefore, the best that we can do here is to make people believe that life is going to get better, right? Not allow this bleak view on the world, especially when you're religious, especially when you believe in God, to be so terrible, to be so scary, and the world will be less likely, the world will be a less scary place to live in, right? To the very least, a spiritual belief that is contingent upon eternal happiness, the promise of a beautiful and peaceful afterlife, 72 virgins, make life feel worth living, right? As a religious person. What's the comparative here, right? The comparative is that in their world, people expect material reward for being religious, right? Like what Prime Minister said, the problem with this is that it can be confirmed, right? The confirmation as so suggested by the Prime Minister, right? There can be concrete evidence whether or not God actually loved you or God actually rewarded you with this material or not, right? For example, you become religious for several years and you are still poor, and it's still most likely going to be that outcome, because you can't be rich by just praying. People who are religious are more likely people who take low paying jobs like religious teachers and local practices, right? What's the impact of this, right? The impact is that life will continuously be miserable for these individuals because they are poor, and they will continuously expect for material reward from God that they have never known and never seen, right? They will also feel like God has abandoned them and God does not care about them at all, because no matter how much they offered to God, God still does not give them the material reward that they so much deserve, right? And they're going to fall into this nihilistic doom of belief and disbelief, of despair, of questioning the very existence of one person and whether or not God exists, right? Under this argument, we say that religion is going to lose more followers. Under this metric, we say people, even if they still believe life is going to be so much more unbearable to live in, right? Therefore, what have we proven to you? We proven to you very simple thing today, right? If people believe in spiritual rewards in afterlife, life is going to get so much better, right? With that, I've never been prouder to oppose. Thank you.
Okay, I thank the leader of opposition. Let's have the deputy prime minister here.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start in 3, 2, 1. Side of opposition keeps on telling you about how eternal happiness is better than material happiness because material happiness is merely manipulative and life sucks for everyone, right? But here's the thing: we tell you that it is much more their mechanism of lying to people, telling them that there is an eternal happiness when we don't really know if that's true in the first place, is even more manipulative of the poor and will further deviate them from from religion, even worse off in their world, right? So we think that the mechanism to measure whether eternal happiness or material happiness, which one is the most effective, rewarding tool to ensure that these individuals are able to be incentivized to be more hopeful and to be able to live another day, even though their life sucks and their lives is super shitty, right? Two things I'll be proving in my speech today. Number one, I'll prove to you how is it that shifting to material happiness would make religion more fulfilling. And number two, I'll prove to you how basing off of your actions on spiritual rewards is way more harmful, right? So rebuttals are going to be integrated within my speech, right? So firstly, let's talk about how this would make religion more fulfilling. They come out here and told you that, oh, the role of religion is to provide a sense of hope. We tell you that, sure, that is true. Religion is supposed to provide to people a sense of hope and a guideline on what's acceptable and what's not, right? But the problem is status quo is that the guideline of what's good and what's bad is not necessarily black or white, right? The truth to someone's action heavily depends on their angle. So which means that there is some justifications to a certain individual's actions, which makes some things justifiable. For example, if a rich man commits money laundering, that is not justifiable, right? But if a really poor person steals bread from a convenience store, that could be justifiable simply due to the fact that these individuals are poor and they are desperate, right? This is relevant to the case because this is relevant to prove to you that we need a better rewarding mechanism to help people reflect if what they did was justifiable or not. And this is really important to ensure that individuals are able to ensure self-accountability and self-forgiveness if their actions are justifiable, right? So we tell you that the religion's role is to provide a sense of hope and motivation for people to live within those guidelines and be a kind person and just be hopeful in general, right? So I think that I've already made that clear. So why exactly it is that is true that this role becomes even more fulfilling and better delivered in our world, right? Ayman has already told you about how this rewarding mechanism makes it easier for people to reflect, hence easier for them to repent and become better individuals, right? B, let me also tell you about how material happiness or material happiness or material rewards are tangible, which means that simply people are able to relate to worldly materials even more in comparison to things that are intangible, such as eternal happiness, right? The byproduct of this is that individuals become more wary of their surroundings and they are able to recognize little things, little important little things as reward as well. And this is helpful to individuals as they where they are able to like have a better life simply through the recognition that life is not all bad. Because understand that the rule of the universe is, no matter what the true religion is in this world, the rule of the universe says that if you do nice things, you're gonna get nice things in return, right? So those nice things can come in the form of like really, really small things that often gets dismissed in your world, where these individuals are not focused on worldly materials. So the outcome in our world is that we tell you that that we tell you that people become A, more incentivized to follow these guidelines, and B, people are able to recognize the little things that are also blessings in life. The comparison with your world is that in your world, where the promised rewards are not tangible, people tend to become even more skeptical towards religion, right? This is a direct response of direct response of their point on how people are going to deviate from religion through worldly materials. We tell you that the reason why people would further deviate from religion is if they feel as if the religion is lying to them, or if they could not relate to the kinds of rewarding mechanism that the religion is promoting, right? Which means that in your world, there is a higher tendency for individuals to not believe in religion. And this is harmful because there is an absence of one driving factor to be good, and there is an absence of one sense of hope that things would get better. So I'm done with that. Moving on to my second point on how basing off of your actions on spiritual rewards is extremely harmful. And this is a direct response on their point on how in the current status quo, people have the fear of the uncertainty, which leads people to like want to become good individuals, right? But here's the thing. We tell you that the harms of basing off of your actions on spiritual rewards is A, people have less incentive to be hopeful, because I've already told you about how people become more skeptical towards religion and their teachings in the first place because they could not relate to the kinds of rewarding mechanism that it promotes. And B, you can't relate to the rewards, which means that you have no incentive to believe that these rewards even exist at the end of the day, right? So who does this affect? This is also a direct response on their point on how poor people are going to be most affected by this, right? Understand that the people who needs to rely on religions the most more often are people who are living unfortunate life, right? Who needs a sense of hope to get up and keep moving every other day. So what happens when people are skeptical is that these individuals aren't able to benefit off of the sense of hope that religion provides through the rewarding mechanism. The comparator between these two rewarding mechanisms is simple. These individuals would have an even more reliable driving factor for them to go about their days with the incentive to make their lives better, because the rewarding mechanism of using like worldly materials is much more appealing to these individuals in comparison to eternal happiness, because worldly rewards are tangible and is able to help these individuals materially, right? Be it financially or socially, right? Which are the roots as to why their lives are so unfulfilling in the first place, right? Understand that these individuals are living unfortunate lives because they have worldly problems, right? Which is why we tell you that rewarding mechanisms in the form of worldly materials would become even better for them and much more appealing to them. Would become much more appealing to them because it can solve their problems in the it can actually solve their problems instead of things that are intangible and are actually out of their reach. So essentially, side of government has told you how people would have like more incentive to do good things under our side of the world. We have also proven to you about how people under our side are able to reflect on their past action even better and more effectively. We have told you why religion becomes more fulfilling in our world, and we have already told you why is it that basing off of your actions based on spiritual rewards is extremely harmful to these individuals at the end of the day. So we tell you that this debate is all about the comparison between the two rewarding mechanism, and worldly materials is a much better rewarding mechanism, as it is something that's tangible and it is something that could actually solve these individuals' problem and incentivize them better. Proud to propose.
All right, I thank the Deputy Prime Minister. Let's have the Deputy Leader of Opposition. Here.
Hello, am I audible?
Yep.
Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, we tell you why it's very much detrimental for you to consider for side government to even acknowledge the fact that, you know what, religion should be tangible with material benefits. Well, what's next? You're going to ask for Sky Daddy to appear himself in front of you just because you want to strengthen your religion, your faith in God. I think that's very much problematic coming from side government, and we're going to tell you why. So my rebuttals will be integrated with my argument. So side government told to you for today that what's going to happen is that people won't immediately see the consequences of their action because it's not materialized, or maybe you're going to lose also because you don't believe in real life punishments, and also people are going to be more skeptical towards religion. We tell you that this better rewarding mechanism that they've already told you beforehand is something that's actually very much detrimental on their side of the case for today. So first foremost, we tell you why people would actually still believe in punishments, because understand that right now we are living in a world where a big portion of people who actually do have faith and are actually believers, they are people who actually who do not know or consider that or have a faith towards an omnipotent God. So this looks like the word created by this omnipotent God is not supposed to be understandable within the limitations of human lives, which means that it's not going to be materialized in any way that is possible to be considered as logical. And that's what is going to it has created uncertainty, and this is the reason why it has been a long standing religion for so many years, for thousands of years even. So we tell you why this is a very much important thing to consider because under their side of the world, what's going to happen is that right now you're going to substitute whatever that religion has to offer to something that has to be materialized in this world. It has to be materialized into something that you can see, and this is something that's going to be important in my argument, because we understand right now it's going to be very much detrimental, because you're going to live solely on material benefits, and the person that's going to be and the stakeholder that's going to be affected most in this situation under their side of the world is poor religious people. Because I tell you, in the first place, in order for you to actually reap more blessings, or to actually in order for you to reap for more blessings, that means that you need to put into more effort. You need to put into more capital. So this looks like you actually needing to donate even more if you want to require for more blessings. So in the first place, people who are privileged or people who are rich in the first hand, they will actually be capable of confirming for more blessings to happen in their life. But what if you're a poor person? You don't actually have the capability for you to actually we don't actually have the capability in order for you to get this promised blessings. And we tell you why this is very much when this is very much disappointing. If you are a person that's going to expect for more blessings, as a poor religious person, you're going to expect for more just because you actually tried to do more, but we are not receiving as much. It's a very much disappointing thing, because you thought that you already gave enough. And this is the reason why under their side of the world, people are less likely to be holding their faith together, because right now you don't actually want to consider that God is being good to you, or maybe God is right, or actually you are going to reap any sort of blessings, because in the first hand you're already damned enough because of the fact that your status, your socioeconomic status is not as good enough, because you don't actually have the capability or the capacity in order for you to reap for more blessings to happen under the side of the world. So first, we tell you what is very much disappointing, because you have high expectations that when you do more good, you essentially have to have materialistic things to be manifested in your life. And if it doesn't happen, you're going to be condemning a lot of people, a lot of things as to why this had to happen. And we're also going to tell you for today why this is very much important. Why this linkage of trying to make religions something tangible towards financial statuses or financial things is going to be an avenue for institutionalized religions to manipulate people even more. So this is something that we've already seen before, and it has happened if it has happened before this. So we look at the possibilities of this happening, because obviously poor people, they need the money to actually be in their life, because it's essentially important for you to have some sort of capital in your life in order to continue on living, because you need to have the way, because your status is not actually beneficial to you, so you're willing to do anything. And this is how institutionalized religions actually actually are going to manipulate these people to just give off anything that you have, and will actually try to will actually try to will try to benefit from will actually try to benefit and manipulate these people. So this looks like people consuming the religion and ending up in ending up into some sort of cult. So this is what happened when in for example, in the cult of the children of God, where basically there are poor people who are willing to do anything for money, and the moment that they actually enter into this cult, what happens at the end of the day, that they were sexually exploited, and they were actually, and it was very much detrimental, they were actually being sold to people. So this is just one of the many things that happens when you actually try to put this linkage between when you try to put this link between religion of faith with materialistic things, because at the end of the day, people understand that the moment that you have the power towards something that is finite, like materialistic things, that means that you are easily bought, and this is something that is very much detrimental under the side of the world. We tell you why this is and for these reasons, never been prouder to oppose. Thank you.
Okay, I thank the Deputy Leader of Opposition. Now let's have Government Whip here.
Hi, am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm gonna start my speech in 3, 2, 1. I think side opposition has been highly uncomparative in our case, and they've been only willing to argue in their paradigm. They don't engage with our case when we say that people are more likely going to be able to reflect on their past actions in our world. They don't engage in our case why people have the incentive to do good deeds in our world. Instead, they just try to paint their world, and they're trying to paint a negative case of our world in terms of saying that people will be exploited. But if I'm able to engage in their case and prove two issues, the first, which world gives more hope, and the second, which world actually creates the service for exploitation. If we're able to win those two issues, we think we have this debate in the bag. So the first rebuttals will be integrated, but the first issue is which world gives more hope. So opposition comes up here and they say that there are two actors in this issue. There's the poor, the people that suffer in Syria, the people that were born into poverty, and there's the rich. And they say that these poor people, in our paradigm, will have no hope of religion, and they won't believe in religion because they feel like their life is unjustified in of itself. But let's look at the comparative. Let's look at their case, whereby these poor people were born into these places of these places of warfare where times are tough. We can see that times are tough. But which is it better for the poor person to have that instant gratification of hope, of knowing that actually my religion told me that if I did something good today, I will get at least a certain amount of satisfaction or happiness in this form, versus my religion told me just to pain and just to endure this pain and suffering for the next 60 years of my life and die in this world, and after that I'll go to religion. Logically speaking, I think the latter is extremely harmful for the mindset and the psyche of these individuals and the poor, which are more likely to create them to resort to other things other than religion. Because note that in these situations that Op wants to paint their best case in, religion in of itself is the factor where it strengthens these people. It's something that is supposed to be so important to them, to the point in which where they believe that religion is lying to them, where religion paints this facade of uncertainty, in which what is Op is doing, because they don't get any material benefits in of itself, they don't get anything to prove for their good actions, this facade of uncertainty, which leads to these individuals on the ground to lose more hope. We think this is extremely harmful, have to engage. But on the second level, they argue that, oh, rich people are already rich, they don't have incentive to do good things, and they don't buy into religion because of that. That's untrue. two levels of analysis. The first reason is because we believe that the rich people still can benefit from this doctrine coming in from the government side. Because notice that materials don't just have to be monetary benefits. I think that's a one-dimensional way of seeing material benefits. It could also be things such as happiness that you get on a day-to-day basis. It could be also things such as getting a bettering your relationship. These are the material benefits that as we get on our side that happens, and we can justify because religion told us we'll get these good things happening in our world if we do these good things. This is something that is exclusive to our side. That doesn't happen in op, because at the end of the day, op has to defend a world where religion in of itself says that you have to just wait and suffer, and then you'll get your benefits after you die. We think that in that paradigm, we think the rich has less incentive to actually donate to charity, for example, because they forgot what is the incentive in the first place of religion. The religion in of itself for the rich people and for the people that are privileged is just probably going to be a means for the ends, or like for a social structure that makes them fit in. We think that they have no like incentive structure to actually practice religion, nor like believe in it in the first place. We think that religion on their side for these privileged people aren't as satisfying. Yeah. Moving on to this exploitation argument, and I think this is important, and I have to point out it hasn't been explained or engaged at all with opposition about the case about how people on their side, which is happening in status quo, people are more likely to justify their decisions because of this uncertain context of what is a good deed that will equate into a good benefit I get in the end of the day in the afterlife. So this means that there are a lot of splinter groups in religions, which means that there are a lot of leeways for individuals to interpret their own ways of good deeds. What I'm referring to are extremists which take the revelations and they take the religious like doctrine and they skew it in their own way for their own benefit to manipulate these things. We can see this happening in status quo. It's so prevalent. Things such as ISIS, terrorist groups that actually use these that use these narratives to say that, hey, if you blow yourself up or you cause this damage to these non-believers, then you'll get rewarded in the hereafter. We think that these terrorist groups actually cause fear to the local like religious like a society, which creates like xenophobia, which creates people hating religion in of itself, because that is the first image that people see when they believe in religion. We think that in that side of the house, we think that it's extremely harmful, because then you give the leeway for people to interpret it in their own way and like justify their means. But in our side, in the comparative, about the ability to reflect, given that you get a material benefit when you do a good, you can then justify that you have done a good when you get something good, and you can see the material rewards. Then as an individual, you're more likely to reflect on your life and realize the points in time when you didn't get that promotion, the points in times when you fought with your wife are probably because you did bad things. And then you start to identify the bad things you've done in your life, and you have this sense of self-reflection, versus like op, where there isn't that sense of reflection. Before 6 POI. Op, POI? Okay, no POIs then. Furthermore, I think we also have to look at what Kina said, which is extremely important, because this idea of religion becoming more fulfilling is contingent on this idea of it being tangible. This is a distinct, it's already past 6, I'm sorry. This is a distinct narrative that doesn't happen in op case, where religion isn't tangible. Multiple questions they haven't answered. They just painted out a sob story where there's a devil and an angel. I think that's like that's mutually exclusive. The point in which where our world, we have tangible results, we have tangible punishments, we have tangible rewards, is the world where religion is one, more fulfilling to the people involved because they feel like they're doing good and they're actually benefiting themselves by following the religion, which means that they believe the religion is true. But on the second level, people are less likely to be extreme and likely to reflect. And I think in this world, we get more fulfillment, we get more hope, and there's less exploitation and less manipulation that can happen. I think what Op says about manipulation is in comparative to our world about how manipulation actually happens. For all those reasons, very proud to propose.
Okay, I think the government whip. Let's have opposition whip here.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay, a few things. My connection might be bad. So if I suddenly stop or stutter, it means that my connection is bad. So just try to type in the chat box, say I'm laggy or something. I prefer the POIs in the chat box. And if I don't accept one by the 5th minute, please interrupt me. Just open your mic. All right, my speech will start in 3, 2, 1. Panel, I am a Muslim. I have my own beliefs. I personally believe that my halal and haram ratio is balanced. I don't know. But whatever I do, I personally believe that I am in the correct path when it comes to faith and religion. Under their world, right, if I have a faith and I'm not religious enough, their metric to say that people would be repent if they don't see the benefits, it means that God doesn't love them. Does that mean that if I believe in a certain religion and God doesn't love me, it means that I'm not good enough? Like God doesn't love me? Like, is this religion wrong? And like, when I do see that there's no benefits that I get just because like I have my own faith, I think I'm doing the right thing, like my first thought would be like, should I continue in a religion like this? Or like, is it like, oh, I think I need to do better because like, I'm not doing enough. That's the problem that coming from their side. Because on their side, they forgot that the word pious, it means that you have to be religious in order for you to accept these benefits in the first place. Because the way they're trying to paint this religion is that, hey, follow me and I'll give you these benefits. Not follow me because my religion is the one that can give you personal and eternal happiness that you can get on the long run. Because the way they want to paint their benefits are contingent upon them getting them materially, like when them getting it instantaneously, right? It basically means that you only want to follow your religion because you get these benefits, right? Because that's the big case that's coming from them. They say that, oh, like people are incentivized to do things because like we're going to give stuff, right? Is that enough for you to actually be in a religion, for you to like receive this? And like, does that fall under the label of being religious? Like, are you only doing this just because you want to get stuff and not because you're religious and you actually love your religion? That's the one thing that I was trying to pay them like ever since the first speaker. But yeah, they failed to accept one. And I'm sorry I didn't take one from the government whip. Panel, there are two issues that I found in this debate. Firstly is the incentive to do good, but because that's like their metric of telling us that, okay, we win this debate because a lot of people would fall for religion more on their will. Here's the problem with that thing. First and foremost, the reason why they say they have incentive to do good is because they get that benefits like instantaneously. They get it like probably on the spot or probably like 1 or 2 days after. Regardless, the way they want to paint their benefits is that they can get it like in real life. And that's the problem, because like we have to take note that when it comes to religion, like if you were to want to see yourself as a good person in having a good faith, like you have to be religious, right? That's what the motion is about, right? Like if you were to be religious, why would you be incentivized to want to get these benefits instead of just saying that, oh, I'm religious, I love my religion, and that's all? Like, I don't understand how that happens in their world. Because the way they want to say is that, oh, like, okay, if I were to be religious, then I'm probably going to get the benefits that I want in the first place, right? And we say that that's like entirely not exclusive to them, because we have that on our side as well. The reason why the word pious is there to begin with is because it plays around the notion of having a religion, right? So in our world, we can get the same benefits because like religious people who have deep faith in a certain religion, or like any person who has a faith in a certain religion thinks that they're good enough and they can get that eternal happiness like afterworld, right? So that's why in our world, we have more incentive than them. And like on the comparative level of incentives, right? We take this debate by saying that the incentive to do good based on the faith itself. So meaning to say that on our side, the people who want to get these benefits, chances are to be the people who are pious, or not even pious, but those who personally believe that their faith is good enough for them to actually get these benefits. Meaning to say that on our world, we can get these benefits in the afterworld, right? Compared to their side, they're basically saying that, oh, someone has to have that religion, then like you follow the rules and like the regulations of the religion, and then you can get the benefits itself. That's like contrary to what the Prime Minister was trying to say, like religion promotes kindness and goodness. Like, okay, sure, but the way they want to play this out is that you do kindness and goodness and you get these kind of things. And like, on the comparative level of having faith, right? It's like, it's not enough for you to be like a person of religious, right? Yeah, take one POI from Kina.
Don't you think it's a bit simplistic to believe that people would, the only way a person could be kind is if they don't believe that something good is going to happen to them at the end of the day?
Okay, like, are you being good because you want something in return, or are you being good because you have sympathy? That's the one question I want to ask you. Because let's say, for example, right, someone like fell into an accident right in front of my eyes. Like, as a person on the opposition side, I would personally want to help that person because like that person is in danger. I want to help her or him because like, yeah, that's the one thing I can do because I have sympathy towards a person. Under your world, sure, that would exist, but chances are you want to paint this picture that by doing good, you're going to get good things. So the moment you want to like help that person is not because you have sympathy for that person, but rather because, oh my God, if I help this person, then I'm going to get like, I don't know, big house or like a big car. So like on a comparative level, sure, it is good that you can get these benefits, right? But we say it is harmful because it goes again like what you have for your faith in a religion, because you're doing it for like materialistic stuff. You're not doing it because of your religion. You're only using your religion to get this materialistic stuff, which is beyond what a religion should supposed to be like. Like we tried, like ever since Haziq started his speech, he's been trying to tell you that when it comes to having a religion and having a faith, it comes from within. It doesn't come from like what you want to get in return, right? Because we want to paint you the picture that you can do good like in the normal life and you can get benefits in the afterworld. Meaning to say that in a comparative level, if you live in a world where your religion like promotes you kindness and good deeds, right? It means you're likely to do these good deeds out of sympathy, out of because you're a human being, right? Sure, we do believe that at some point in our world, people will be like, okay, if I do this, I actually get like pahala or I actually get good deeds in the afterworld. But the first initial thinking of you wanting to help that person is because out of sympathy, out of you want to help that person. Compared to what your side is trying to push, it's like, okay, if I do this, I'm gonna get like stuff. Yeah, and like in a way, that's like kind of bad because if you're doing it out of religion, then it goes against what religion, faith in religion is supposed to be like. On the second level of this debate is faith, like when it comes to believing, right? Because the way they want to paint a picture is that, okay, if you want people to repent, right, then like under their metric is that people can repent because they can see like whatever they do, will they get the benefits or not? Like, then again, it's like a wrong metric for you to be in, right? Because for example, I could be like a person who believes in ISIS because like whatever the Western countries are doing to the Muslim countries are bad. Then like under your world, you'd be like, okay, this is a form of jihad. I should be rewarded for this. And that's why we say that it's entirely not true. It's not good at all. And I've never been prouder to oppose. Thank you.
All right, I thank the opposition way. Now let's begin with opposition reply. Yeah.
Can you give me 1 second? Am I audible?
Yep.
All right. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Members of the floor, this debate does not operate in a vacuum, right? There are already existing rich and poor people. There are already religious and non-religious people. 2, there are already people who believe in afterlife and people who disbelieve in afterlife. 3, there is an existing timeline. How long in life have a person been religious, right? These are the things that are both sides already agree on, right? It's already established. That it's already been established, right? The question then realize is which reward mechanism makes life of religious individuals so much better, right? So the way I'm going to do this is that I'm going to make a material comparative, but in real life application, right? Before that, let's look at how their world looks like, right? We see that this debate suffers from a lot of context because government does not apply, does not visualize towards what their mechanism actually looks like. It could be Buddhist religion mechanism in which they believe in God of wealth. It could be the Islamic reward mechanism in which whoever prays Subuh will become richer than the entirety of the world. We are not exactly clear, but we have to assume either way, right? But from what we understand, if you're good, you will get material, right? First, the whip accuses us of not engaging. I'll show you how and when we engage from the entire argument, right? So under their side, under their world, there are two tenets of life, right? There are rich religious people and there are poor religious people, right? We concede to the fact that rich religious people, they will feel like God has blessed them, it's going to make them more religious. We have already accepted that to begin with, right? The problem is they don't want to concede when Emma said that when you when you apply this reward mechanism in which people will be rewarded with material, you will empower people, rich religious people, to manipulate the poor religious individuals, right? And this harm is exclusive on their side because there is proof, as what government Prime Minister suggested, right? There is proof, a confirmation bias by God that these religious individuals are actually religious because they become rich, right? Therefore, it's easy to manipulate, right? This is exclusively our side because on our side, there is no proof whatsoever that one person is religious or not. Therefore, it's harder to convince people that one is a representative of God or not, right? They dismiss Emma's argument entirely and accuse us of not being engaging. Sure. Let's look at on the flip side, right? On the flip coin, in which where most of the debate takes place, right? The poor religious individuals, right? Yes, again, we have already considered from the start, it will motivate you to do good because you want to be rich, right? But the question is, this debate does not happen in a vacuum. There will be a timeline, right? How long are you going to hold on to that form of hope of getting money, right? Because the entire benefit is contingent upon them actually getting happiness from those material, right? Because we say that they've never proven to us whether or not they will get those material. They've never proven to us all sorts of stuff like that, right? We tell you that life is going to continuously suck, and under their world, purchasing power gets weaker, life cost gets higher, and there is no proof, and they're not going to get any better with life, right? The moment that God no longer gives, the moment they don't get any material rewards that they so believe that God owes them, they are not going to be religious anymore, right? Because they believe that God has abandoned them. God is there. They're going to fall into the nihilistic doom and despair, right? They are going, and also we've proven to you earlier in my speech why this group is most likely going to stay poor, right? Because they take up low-paying jobs and stuff like that. Therefore, people are going to be radically on their side. Life is going to be so much worse under their side, right? Under both worlds, on the both sides of the coin, the outcome is the same. The poor is going to be continuously marginalized. What is our world look like, right? Sure, we can see that life sucks. Both sides cannot do anything about it, right? But which form of religion makes people believe like life is somewhat better, right? That is the burden that we want to prove. Visualize this. Most religious people, as I established earlier in my speech, adopt religion as a philosophy. They believe that no matter how bleak life may seem, your afterlife will be bomb, right? Your afterlife is going to be good, and makes life now by believing entirely is bearable, right? For example, people may believe in things like having to virgins in the afterlife, getting unlimited amount of food, things like that, right? Those belief is because it's uncertain, people continuously believe, like, and this is why most religions have survived for thousands of years, because it's uncertain and people are chasing for that unimaginable happiness that continues and that powers them to continue living this miserable life, right? Speaker, choose side opposition, choose side that's going to make life so much better by believing in the afterlife. Choose heaven. Thank you.
Okay, I think the opposition reply. Now to close the debate, let's have Gov reply. Here.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'll start in 3, 2, 1. Look, an important clarification is that this is not a debate on feasibility, right? We shouldn't be discussing whether a pious person's life would become better or not. It's merely a comparison between the two rewarding mechanisms, that is eternal happiness as well as material happiness, right? The metric to which we measure which the metric that we use to measure which mechanism is better than the other is which one is much more effective in motivating a certain individual, in trying to incentivize a certain individual to become a better person and to wake up every single day and have hope, right? One more clarification that's very important to point out in this debate, right? What exactly is the point of having rewarding mechanism, and how exactly does it work, right? We think that this is something that's been explained by Aiman but have been dismissed throughout the three speakers coming from Utimara, right? Look, rewarding mechanism works on two levels. This is something that Aiman has already told you, right? How do people become incentivized to be pious or to become a better person? They need a driving factor to even attract them to do those actions, and B, once it as time goes on, it becomes a habit, and they no longer have to rely on religions. They no longer have to rely on these driving factors to become a good person, right? This entire debate aims to discuss which mechanism is much more appealing, right? Under their point of how simple, it is much better, they claim that it's much better to become nice or to become kind because you have sympathy rather than wanting something in return. We tell you, even if you are kind because you want something in return, like what is exactly the tangible harm from this, right? Because they've also told you about how religion is better if it comes from within, right? It doesn't make sense because understand that religion and good qualities can be taught and can be trained, right? Which means that it isn't necessarily something that should be coming from within of you, right? So there is absolutely no harm of wanting something in return and wanting to rely on rewarding mechanism, to rely on religion or to become incentivized to be hopeful, right? What exactly is the comparison between the two rewarding mechanism, right? What have side of opposition told you in today's debate? They told you that the rewarding mechanism of having eternal happiness is much better because it drives people to become more hopeful, right? Look, they have also told you that materials are harmful due to the claim that it would give people false sense of hope, right? We tell you, we have already told you that this is very much ironic, given that there is no way of proving that eternal happiness even exists at the end of the day. So there is no tangible factors to prove that eternal happiness is even something that's appealing to these individuals, right? We have already told you that the entire point of having rewarding mechanisms in the first place is so that people would be motivated to be pious or to be generally better, right? And there is no way rewarding mechanism could even work if it is not appealing, right? Second thing that they told you in today's debate, they have also told you about how wanting material wanting worldly rewards is something that's contradictory to the nature of religion. Yeah, sure, to a certain extent it is true, right? But we have already told you that this is a trade-off that we're willing to make, because understand that they never really properly fleshed out what exactly is the harms of terms of contradicting the nature of religion, because we have already told you that the benefit of having religion is something that can be obtained in our world, in our world in the first place, even better because we have a better tool, an effective tool to assist reflection, and religion will become more fulfilling in our world, right? And they also have this underdeveloped point of how manipulation would happen in their world. But look, manipulation and exploitation happens either way as long as there is socioeconomic disparity, right? At least in our world, people would have the material that could help them and appealing motivation to stand up for themselves and be better, right? In comparison to your world, where people choose to believe in things that might not even exist, and at the end of the day, we become even more manipulated into staying silent and not sticking up for themselves. Understand that this is an effective tool to assist reflection in our world because it is immediate and it cancels out the ambiguity of relations between a person's actions and religious teachings. And materials happiness make religious teachings even more clear, which is something that they have dismissed, right? And understand that religion becomes more fulfilling in our world because the messages are better delivered and it is much more appealing to individuals, and it gives them the first step to approach and become closer to religion as it appeals them. Proud to propose.
All right, I thank the government reply and everyone for the debate. So now we're going to discuss. So it will be cool if everyone who's not judging can leave the room once